We're going to look at evolving definitions of mental illness and wellness, with an assumption that terminology and understanding is not static and fixed, but it changes over time. I'm Nathan Loynes, and this material was prepared in 2023. The aims are to identify how mental health policy has shifted from an approach of cure in the provision of acute services towards prevention and the promotion of mental wellness. To further analyse the interplay between mental health and physical health. To point out that degrees of mental health exist on a continuum or spectrum. To contrast deficit and strength models and their histories in the biomedical and psychosocial traditions or perspectives. This material was prepared from the Mandersheid et al. Source, Evolving Definitions of Mental Illness and Wellness from 2010. So let's ask ourselves a series of questions. The first one being, what is mental health? Is it simply the absence of mental illness? In 1948, the World Health Organization defined health as encompassing physical, mental, social well-being and extending beyond the mere absence of disease. So here we see the evolution of a holistic view of health. It's not an either or, you're either well or you're ill, but actually it's a holistic cover-all definition. The source, Mandersheid, was writing from the US perspective, but it is applicable to the European and UK situation as well. Recent discussions in the US healthcare and public health have emphasized the significance of mental health and well-being within the broader health reform and healthcare reform dialogues. And we can see this at a later point where we explore mental health policy. We can also ask ourselves that there's been a shift from an approach towards curing mental health problems towards preventing them escalating in the first place. Health reform focuses on health promotion and development of positive well-being, while health care reform centres on the treatment of diseases and rehabilitation efforts, thus distinguishing between health and illness. Wellness and illness were once considered to be two independent continua, two different things. You're either ill or you're well, rather than two ends of the same spectrum, with wellness relating to a positive life outlook and the ability to manage emotions and behaviours effectively. Psychological well-being is viewed as a separate dimension from mental illness, emphasizing that the absence of mental distress does not guarantee well-being. Illness, on the other hand, refers to the presence or absence of disease. Since the Enlightenment in the 1600s and the work of philosopher René Descartes, we've seen a gradual split in considering that the mind and the body are separate things. However, in recent times, we've come to see the two things of the mind and the body as being interrelated. There's an interplay between the mental and physical health. That a healthy mindset capable of reducing the intensity of illnesses is demonstrated in the mind and body connection. To some extent, you can think yourself well, and that's true of both mental and physical illness. Public mental health clients tend to have significantly shorter lifespans compared to the general population. This means that people with enduring mental health illnesses live significantly shorter lives. This is important because it highlights the need to address mental health in the broader healthcare field. For example, depression and its symptoms are major risk factors for conditions such as coronary heart disease. So the mental health state of having depression can have an impact on your internal physical state. This emphasizes the need to consider mental health in overall health management. Definitions of mental illness have evolved over time, transitioning from a focus on disease to a more holistic perspective that recognizes the importance of mental health as contributing to overall health. Earlier definitions primarily relied upon diagnosis alone, but the recognition of the need for disability and duration criteria led to the concept of severe and persistent mental illness. Definitions that are more recent emphasize a person's strengths and the goal of recovery and full community participation, even in the presence of ongoing symptoms and disabilities. Psychological well-being research highlights its impact on physical health, as we've seen, including lower morbidity, increased longevity, and improved endocrine and immune function. In other words, as I've said, you can think yourself well to some extent. However, social determinants of health play a significant role in both mental health and mental illness, with factors like income, housing, and social support influencing outcomes. So although on the one hand we can say how our thinking can change our physical health and circumstances, it's a bidirectional process whereby our material environment, such as where we live and whether we're experiencing poverty, also impacts upon our mental health and physical health. Positive mental health may be promoted through interventions such as wellbeing therapy, which focuses on positive experiences and has shown to have long-term benefits. Primary care providers play a crucial role in overseeing mental health care, making them essential partners in addressing both physical and mental health issues. The promotion of wellness, well-being and recovery should be central to healthcare and health reform efforts, with a focus on enhancing overall health and delaying chronic diseases. So, in summary, and a revisiting of our initial aims. Since about the 1970s, in Europe, the UK and US, mental health policy has shifted from a healthcare focus, with its focus upon curing or the provision of acute services, towards a more health and community-based focus, with its aim of prevention and the promotion of positive mental wellness. There's a complex interplay between mental health and physical health, and that relationship is bi-directional. One doesn't necessarily cause the other. However, we've seen that people that have enduring mental health issues tend to develop physical problems such as coronary heart disease and live shorter lives. We've also seen how things like the environment where we live and our income and whether or not we're experiencing poverty can also contribute towards our mental health and feelings of well-being. Since the 1948 World Health Organization more holistic definition of health, developments have been seen that mental health exists on a continuum or spectrum. We all have mental health and we're all somewhere on that continuum or spectrum, rather than previous definitions that saw health and mental health as an either or dichotomy of either being well or not. The biomedical and psychosocial traditions influence the approaches that societies take towards treating people with mental distress and illness. Initially, we've focused upon emphasizing what people cannot do, their deficits, and often this is identified through diagnosis, which we'll explore at a later date, in contrast to more modern approaches, which looks at what people can do, their strengths, and how they can participate within communities, and what we can do to strengthen that participation. Clearly, this is a bit of a whistle-stop tour. More of the detail can be found in the source where this information was taken from, which is the Mandersheid et al. Source from 2010, Evolving Definitions of Mental Illness and Wellness.